Hello, my name is Mitch, and I draw Blood Force, and today we're taking a look at what is considered the second best-selling comic book of all time, Rob Liefeld's X-Force #1, released in August of 1991. This was, this was a big deal back in the day, of course. Sold 5 million copies, as far as we can tell, and of course you can get a copy now for like $2 because everybody has 5. And this is I've never understood the appeal of Rob Liefeld's style. Rob Liefeld, of course, he'd been working in comics for I guess about 5 years at that point. Yeah, this is 1991. Started in DC with Hawk and Dove, moves to Marvel, gets his does a couple of what ifs, does a few covers, does a little fill in here and there, and eventually gets what should have been the shitty comic with New Mutants, and somehow turns that around to be one of Marvel's top sellers. And if you were to ask me to explain why that is, I couldn't do it. I do not understand, never have. This is fucking terrible. Anyway, it's been sort of proposed that a lot of the time Rob Liefeld will draw something small and then blow it up, and that may have been what he did with this cover here, because you take a look at some of these renderings, like there's some wide hatching going on here and here, and here as well, of course. This gun is extremely sloppy. He had to ink it himself. Look at how big the hatching is down here. There's no composition to this whatsoever. You know, there's barely any effort on this thing. This is just, I'm gonna draw some dudes, and this is Rob Liefeld. You know, this is what he does. This isn't a memorable cover. This is a bunch of people standing with their feet covered. Not because Rob Liefeld can't draw feet. He can draw feet. He'll draw them all day. He doesn't care. He cannot draw feet near each other, because then he has to make it look like everybody's on the same plane. He didn't do a bad job of that here, just based on the torsos. But if he had to do it with the feet, he would have fucked up, and he knew that, so he didn't do it. Although you take a close look, you figure by this point he'll have figured out proportions a little bit. Not if you look at Domino. There's all sorts of mess going on in the midsection here. I mean, we saw this with Youngblood, I guess, when he's trying to draw combat and he just makes a mess of it. Look at this, just pretend hatching here. Let's take up some space. Oh boy. Okay, let's get into it. If I had to try and guess why Rob Liefeld was ever popular, there's a couple of things I would think. One is, it's something I've floated before, something I've read before, is just that he draws more dynamically, which has been pointed out to me is incorrect. He just draws loud. This isn't dynamic. This is static, people standing, and he does this a lot. He does a lot of people frozen in place. He just draws loud. So, lots of just lots of bang and pop, essentially. Big fireworks for panels. Another thing I think is the amount of lines on each figure. It's there's a lot of lines, or there seems to be a lot of lines in each of these panels. And the funny thing is, he doesn't do this anymore because he's old and lazy. But I have to think that's a big thing. Is it feels like more is going on when you get more lines on each page. I'm going to take a brief moment. Take a look at these, which is the greatest series of superhero trading cards of all time. Superhero trading cards got me into collecting comics, and this was like the year before these, the Marvel Series 1. And then I was like, oh, I kind of know all these guys with who all these guys are. And then this series came out, and I'm like, okay, now I know who the guys are, and I'm gonna learn who all these awesome artists are as well. And you got power levels. That's just the best shit. So what's he doing on the pages here? This is a force to be reckoned with, an X-force to be reckoned. Yeah, you got it. And he's trying here. This is a lot of drawing for Rob Liefeld. Like, look how much he's trying on this spaceship. You've seen how much he half-asses vehicles these days. You know what? Okay, this isn't these days. I don't have a comic by Rob Liefeld produced in the last 25 years. But it's more recent than this. This is the Captain America Heroes Reborn. I feel like I should do a focus on this series too. Just like do a mining for all the ridiculous imagery in this. Oh, it'd be so good. But like, check this out. This is how Rob Liefeld draws a plane, a World War II fighter jet. That is awful. 10-year-olds do a better job than that. There's a lot else wrong with this. But there is no detail there. There is no attempt to even make that interesting. He's trying here. This is his big deal. This is a big launch. This is like a double-sized issue, I think. It feels like there's like 40 pages or so in here. Packing a lot of detail in each of these panels. It doesn't feel like he blew this one up. And then so what they're doing is they're invading the Mutant Liberation Front, who they keep calling the MLF, and which I keep reading incorrectly as the MILF. So I'll try to avoid that, but it's gonna distract me a little bit. I just want to let you know that. And this panel, of course, is lifted directly from a George Perez image, and I'll try to put that up here. And George Perez was Rob Liefeld's favorite artist growing up, or one of. I guess that and Art Adams' Long Shot, because there's a lot of stuff from Long Shot that he just lifted directly. And we'll do a quick pan through that at the end of this. I think that's a good idea, because I do have that. And I just wanted to, but like this is so much more depth than Rob can usually pull off. So that's why he had to swipe it. And and it's a big, impressive image. And we get all right, this is some just fighty shit happening. And some very confusing panel layout here. Because, like, you got to read the word balloons to figure out where you should read next. So the actual way you're supposed to read this is here to here, 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 here. But I mean, you could read it like that, could read it like that. The only thing you know for sure is you're reading this one first and this one last. And this is all on Rob Liefeld, because I'm pretty sure he Marvel methoded this. So he drew the pages and then went, figure it out, Fabian. And, Fabian Nicieza isn't good. So he's not exactly going to knock that shit out of the park. And it's kind of pointed out also. Farrell's tail comes out of her left ass cheek. Or right ass cheek, my bad. And let's, again, take a brief moment to mention Battletoads, which was an amazing game right up until level 11, where the game cheated and you couldn't beat the fucking Hypno Orb. Fuck you, Battletoads. Okay, back to X-Force. Again, a lot of detail. Terrible shot. Boring stuff. You get this every once in a while. Oh, note the backgrounds here. This is Liefeld trying on the backgrounds. It's all very random patterns, lines, shapes, etc. But this is, later on, he's going to get tired. And he's not going to be able to pull this off anymore. But you get this kind of thing every once in a while where he just jams a bunch of shit in at the bottom or the top of a page. And we're going to get a fight here, and Rob's all in on this one. He's going to give 2 pages to Shatterstar versus Reaper. Shatterstar had been introduced in the issue previously, I believe. Reaper maybe getting introduced now, or in one of those last issues of New Mutants. So these are characters like nobody really knows at this point. But we know that Shatterstar will cut a dude's hand off. Which hand? Well, that's up for debate. Could be a left hand, could be a right hand, could be both at the same time. And of course, Reaper, in addition to his scythe, has the ability to become a midget at any given moment. This is an okay panel. So this is the kind of dynamism I think people mean. So stuff like, where he breaks panel borders. He does this all the time. Switches up panel sizes. See, we get the horizontal lines here. Doesn't add anything, but it does kind of give a sense of, maybe not even motion, just, like cool things are happening. Get the big close-up of the multi-hand. Interesting angle. I think this is supposed to be flat, though. And then, I'll say that. That's a cool shot of Shatterstar. And breaking all the panel borders, all of them all at once. And then we get Cable versus Forearm. And, no panel border, weird panel sizes. You get the patterns in the background because he didn't feel like drawing anything there. And arg, the lines. And big old bunch of kind of speed lines. Is that done using a template? I think it was. Because remember, this is Rob inking himself. So, and you can see the sloppiness. Like in stuff like this. That looks terrible. And what I guess is kind of a fisheye thing with the floor. I guess this is Cable's hand. At least it has a thumb on the right side. But then he only had to draw 3 fingers. We don't see the extraneous thumb. If there is a thumb. I'm just gonna be looking on for that. All these things, all these hands, he's figured out where the thumb goes. So it's just Reaper. It's good to know. And then we've got Strife, who was introduced at the end of New Mutants number 100, I believe. And Strife is so badass, he's gonna just like perch on his own panel. Sure. And he's just like obsessed with colors. As a man loves him a good color board. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about, though. When I said earlier, Rob was trying with the shapes in the background. This is just, oh my god, so much background to fill. And like nothing's going on here, other than Strife saying like, we can't get some of the MILF guys now. We should leave. That's it. That's everything that's going on this page, but we wanted a cool shot of Strife. And then we get, like, this is so many fights. Holy God. Since the MLF showed up, we've had Shatterstar versus Reaper, we've had Cable and Warpath versus Forearm. Now we've got Wildside versus Feral. And again, Feral's like just jumping out. This is a cool t-shirt shot, right? And speed lines and breaking panel barriers. And weird panel configurations. And weird inscrutable violence. She did something to him there that made a snap sound. I think the implication is that she broke his jaw. Yeah, because he's just going like afterwards. He can't talk right. And here we get more shapes. I don't think we see it too often after this, so he's kind of maybe starting to realize that this is not okay. And now the place is slated to self-destruct. And Zero, the best designed Rob Liefeld character, shows up to teleport the MLF guys away. And Strife shows up, accompanied by car dealership wavy wobbly guys. I like to think that's what he's got on his back there. Obviously, no, that's how Rob Liefeld draws a cape from the front. And you can't just draw a cable and then put no background behind him, so you got to put more of these boxes. And Strife gets away. And, I mean, we've had like 15 pages of fight. You kind of get what you pay for there, I guess. And, yeah, big shot of Domino and Boom Boom. And he figured out Domino's proportions a little better for this shot, at least. You put her on the side, though. Not so much. Oh, he's slacking off on that airship thingy. Already. He's so tired. Why did I make this thing 48 pages? Alright, so they're all on the ship, and they're saying, we won. Now let's go home, guys. And now we're cutting back to, this is Manhattan. Right here. All of it. I mean, he did use a vanishing point. I'm pretty sure. So that's something. And so now we've got the most famous of the New Mutants characters, / X-Force characters, Gideon. Who, from what I understand, just kind of disappeared after Rob Liefeld left X-Force. Because nobody knew what the fuck Rob was trying to do with him. He gave a bald man a ponytail, that's all we know. And some Colossus arms. And about 6 feet of space in between his eyes. Oh, I think this is... Is this meant to be the site where... It is, too. This was a Mutant Liberation Front base. This is supposed to be the base. What's left of it? That's so bad. What did it look like at the beginning? Did we show it? Not really, but I mean, like, this is the inside of the hangar when they first drop in, and that's all of it. Come on, man. And we get this ridiculous shot. This is the Liefeld trope. If you ever wanted to see everything bad Liefeld does with a character, this is it. When he's designing a character. What the fuck is this thing around his neck? Nobody knows. Black guy must have a crew cut. Got the antenna thingies. He's got the Boba Fett rocket pack. He's got tubes. He's got tubes around him. Places. Cigars. He's got cigar tubes. Pouches, 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 pouches. Knee pads. Black hole in his groin. And lower body about 4 times the size of his torso. Like, it adds up to probably about 7 heads. But you're supposed to do it like where his waist is somewhere around here, not like here. That's pretty bad. Now we're in the Adirondacks, because that's where X-Force's base are. Base are? Correct, that's what I said. Now we're going to get a little bit of backstory for Cable. Not much. Because Rob hasn't thought about it that much. Look at these backgrounds, though, eh? This is the stuff that got blown up. Because, like, look at how wide all this hatching is. And then he went in a little better here. This jungle stuff, that's not bad, particularly for Liefeld. I'm a little surprised. And then you see how badly he fucked up this pose right over it. Like, nobody's paying attention to how good you did on the bushes there, Rob. More wide hatching. And this is all, I think this is all Micron Pigma stuff. Because this is when he's using fine liners, from what I understand. And you can see he doesn't bother getting it to the edge of the panel. I do that sometimes. You and me, Rob, we're the same. I love this where the, just to bring up my Micron Pigmas, where the colorist feels like having these wide screen doors in the background isn't enough. So maybe they're kind of checkerboardy. Maybe that's what's going on here. Rob didn't give me anything to color. Yep, more no backgrounds. But we learned that cable is kind of telekinetic. And people aren't supposed to know that. And the colorist is getting so bored here. So when he gets like a bit of a close-up, which Rob, I feels like he blew up like 5 times, because look how wide these lines are. He's just gonna like, I'm gonna contour everything, put highlights on everything. I don't know. I got nothing to do. I could have finished this in a day. Yeah, and Rob's completely running out of steam at this point. He's not gonna draw any backgrounds. He's gonna just, that looks kind of designy, and it also cuts down on the shit I need to draw. So we're gonna do that. Yeah, and look at, drew a tiny picture, blew it up for this, because that looks terrible. And we're not even gonna bother with this. I love the flagpole stance here. And then we got the cable guide. And this is, I mean, they know a little bit of who Deadpool is. Deadpool just came out like 3 issues before this. And they know he talks a lot. That's about all they know, really. Except that he has no loyalties. He might change forces in the middle of a fight if he's offered enough money. That's the stuff they talk about. Yep. So you can learn about what Liefeld thinks, Cable thinks about these people. I don't know why you'd want to know that. I certainly didn't. I read the Deadpool one just to get an idea, and then I was like, okay, oh my god, that's enough. That hurt my brain. And this is such a better comic. And it gets fucking no play. Some fucking Dennis Cowan Deathlock, man. That's the shit. And we got X-Men #1 coming. Probably in August. Probably. And this is the kind of stuff that I find a little interesting. Because when the Image guys leave, and when was this? August of 91? I said? So in a little under a year. I think that was it. August 91, yeah. It's stuff like this. Because this is very clearly a Jim Lee drawing. Or based off of Jim Lee drawing. And do we think Jim Lee got any of this money? I don't think he did. And you see these fucking t-shirts. And, these made a ton of money. And did Rob get any of that money? I don't think he did. He made a shit ton off of this book. I mean, it sold 5 million copies. Well, here, hang on a second. Okay, I found a good one. This is from X-Force number 6. I don't have too many X-Force comics. But here we go. And they're still doing the cable guides at this point, eh? They've only gotten to Cannonball. I feel like they probably stopped for a little bit. But you check this out. Classic Marvel tees. And what do we got here? We got Jim Lee, Jim Lee, Jim Lee, Jim Lee, Jim Lee. McFarlane. There's that shot from number 1. Keown. Larson. Jim Lee. Teixeira. Javier Salters. Okay. Portatio. I think that's Teixeira as well. But this is just a good example. Like, Marvel was making bank off of these artists. I didn't see too many people walking around with these, but I would have worn a few of them anyway. And as far as I understand it, Marvel artists didn't get any of this money. They didn't get any of the money of the figures based off the characters they designed. And you're like, what figures? Well, I mean, fucking X-Force for one thing. Cable. You get Deadpool, like half of, almost everybody on X-Force here. The new X-Men designs. So, like the new Cyclops look. Here, take a look. New Cyclops look. The new Rogue look. The new Psylocke. You know, the new Jean Grey. All that stuff. That's all Jim Lee. I don't think it's a very good character design, but Marvel made a shit ton of money off it. They based the cartoon off of that. You think maybe Jim Lee should have gotten something off, because that's all based around that first little couple of issues around X-Men number 1. But, you know, whatever. I mean, it all worked out for the Image guys. Marvel's still fucking struggling to recover. Fucking 30 years later. But, yeah. And, I mean, I don't know, Rob Liefeld draws like, I don't even know, 7, 8 issues of this before he's like, man, this kind of sucks. I'm getting screwed over every day. I'm making like massive amounts of money for Marvel, and I'm not seeing the kind of return I should be. I'm still being treated like a, you know, well, from what I understand, Bob Harris was trying to bend over backwards. But in terms of, you know, what can we do in terms of the narrative for you guys? It's like, well, fuck the narrative. How about the paycheck? Yeah. So if you're not sure what happened after this, you're probably young, but you can go check out my Youngblood number 1 review as well, or, you know, somebody else's if you like. There's probably a ton out there. But yeah, that should do it for this one. There's a fucking milestone in comics right there. That's a high watermark. And I don't know if I can meet it, but I'll try. Please hit like if you like this video. Hit subscribe. Hit the notifications. Follow me on Twitter at Team Blood Force. Please go to my Patreon and subscribe there. That's where I put all these videos. That's where I put all of my finished artwork and my sketchy artwork. So the not finished stuff, I put that there too. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.